people talk about healing and, oh, I've been through this, been through that. But what people don't talk about is just because you've climbed a mountain doesn't mean that you don't slip back down and look up like, how did I get up there?
Hello and welcome to the Mindset and Self-Mastery Show. I'm your host, Nick McGowan. Today on the show, we have Vaughn Decarlo. Vaughn, how you doing?
Good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, I'm good. I'm excited that you're here. I think it's going to be fun for us to get into things about comedy, probably comedic views of life and like, what the fuck? But also to be able to get into a lot of the stuff that you have in your upcoming book. Before we get into that, why don't you get us started? Tell us what you do for a living and what's one thing most people don't know about you that's maybe a little odd or bizarre.
Well, I'm a stand-up comedian and author, as well as a producer actress. And the one thing people that they don't know about me is that my mother named me after Lily Munster, Yvonne DiCarlo.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, she said when she was pregnant with me, her favorite show was The Munsters, and Yvonne DiCarlo played Lily Munster, the mom. And it was her favorite show at the time. And when she was pregnant, she said she watched it all the time. And when I was born, I had really pale skin and jet black hair. And she said, "Oh my God, I manifested a monster."
And now you're kind of a monster in different ways.
Yeah, I mean, she would have. I mean, if you think about it, it's interesting because Yvonne DiCarlo was a great actress, and that wasn't even her real name. Her real name was Yvonne Middleton or something like that. But in her early days of Hollywood, she's German. But if you looked Italian, if you were Italian, you got more roles. So she changed her last name, which I think was Middleton, to DiCarlo. So people would think she was Italian, which I'm not Italian either. My last name is technically Brown, it's Von DiCarlo Brown, but in just like every mind of a comedian, you gotta have a name that fits on a flyer. So I just it's just Von DiCarlo. My mom said she could have named me Lily, and then I would be going by like Lily Brown or something. So that would be weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, you changed it in some ways. So, like, I wonder what you would have changed it to, or even the stage name thing. I think it's an interesting thing that people do that because it's cool that people can do that. At the same time, in some ways, it kind of sucks that people kind of have to do that, especially women. Like
Yeah.
women authors, they'll write in a man's name and people will buy the hell out of the book. And then, like, you find out, you're like, oh my God, what a dumb thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I've really registered that there are a lot of people, men wise, that have stage names as much as there are women. And I don't
Yeah.
mean to touch on a sore subject if that is a thing, but like, what the
I
fuck?
don't have
That
many
doesn't make
sore
sense to me.
subjects. I'm a comic. I am the sore
Good.
subject. I
Nice.
think for me, I'll speak on me personally. In my early days when I first started in the business, I also had a very young daughter. And I value my privacy, whether I'm a mother or not, but specifically to being a mother, I had always kept my entertainment business and my mom business very separate. I don't think it was until high school when I was on like a talking head comedy show on BET and they advertised it during the BET Awards or something like that. And her friends were like, "Hey, I think I saw your mom on BET." I always kept my mom like very simple, very simple, very separate. I No one really knew I was in the business, even though I'm doing stand up. Not as much when she was younger. I tapped in and out of stand up and did not give it the full attention that it deserved. But I was doing television and commercial acting. I used to do One Life to Live, like under five roles on soap operas and things like that. So, but with stand up, you have to give it your full attention. So there was a long stretch in my early days. Like my first time on stage was the early 2000s. But there's a long stretch in between that I don't claim that time as a stand up because I just wasn't giving the stage my full time attention.
Sure.
And then you cut to later when my daughter is in high school and then a young adult. I'm full time stand up comedian. So I would say around 2013, 14 ish, and to now.
Okay, cool. I love to be able to get into the context of the journey. Like there are certain times, and I brought this up in different episodes, where it's like you'll read some book and it's like, well, in this year this happened, and then it's 783 years later. You're like, well, what the fuck happened in that time? Like there's an immense amount of shit that happens in a day or a week. Hell, I'm going to Philly. I didn't mention this when we were talking about it earlier to see my family. I haven't seen them in a couple of years. And if somebody just wrote that in a book to say, well, then a couple years later, Nick went to Philly, it's like there was a lot of fucking shit that happened in these years that were
A lot.
just shaping.
I mean, how long is this podcast? You want my beginning to end? How much
Yeah,
time you
and
got?
like a and a little bit longer of an elevator pitch. So think of like a really big fucking building. So
It's been 84 years, like the Titanic. No, so where do I begin with that? I mean, when I was a little girl, when I must have been 10 or 11 years old when I saw Whoopi Goldberg do her one woman show on HBO. And I had it set in my mind. I was born and raised in Clairton, Pennsylvania, which is about 30 miles south of Pittsburgh. Shout out Philly on the other side of the state that hates us. But I love Philly. Um, I'm going to be in Philly in the fall, but we'll get back to that. Anyway, I digress. When I was a little girl, I saw Whoopi Goldberg doing her thing. And in my mind, which was a very disturbed mind because of childhood issues and how I grew up, I never felt really safe in my house or outside the home. I grew up in the projects during the crack era, and that should say enough. I don't have to go too deep in what that is. Uh, so my escape for me was my imagination. And I remember writing a letter when I was like 10, 11 years old saying, I'm going to move to New York and I'm going to do comedy and TV and film and going to be a writer and all of these things. And I remember in the letter, and it's in my Bible somewhere, my mother gave it to me when I was in New York and I used to quit every 5 minutes, like, I'm coming home. And she's like, you know who you are. Don't ever, if as long as I have a place to live, you'll never be homeless. So you don't come home unless you have to come home. So don't ever say you're coming home. And I was like, thank you, Mom. She's like, you always knew who you were. She sent me this letter that I wrote when I was 10 years old saying that I was going to do all these things. And in it, I said, that's the only place I feel free
mm,
is in my creative mind. So I had it in me. I knew, like my mother would always say, you know who you are. I always knew who I was at my core. And I think we all do. And then as we grow older and things happen and life happens and responsibilities happen, something shifts our inner child into this angry teenager and then even more angry adult that has bills and has to go to work. I don't know what it was in me that decided I've I've been hungry before. What will I lose? You know, I used to look up at the moon. I'm a moon watcher. Got my binoculars. That's another thing people don't know
nice.
about me. When I say binoculars in my car and at my house, they're like, oh. I used to look up at the moon when I was a little girl, and in my imagination, I would think the people in New York, they're looking at the same moon I'm looking at, so I can go there. I had no direction, no idea how I was going to get to point A or point B, C, D, and I have been all through the alphabet and around and back. There's no real blueprint for what I do. I know I went to art school. I have an art degree. I learned production and studied film, and that's why I know how to produce things for myself because something in me told me you cannot rely on others to believe in you. You have to know how to do things for yourself. So I landed in New Jersey, New York area around 96, uh, terrified, just looking over at the World Trade Center like, it's over there. That's New York right there. But I wasn't bold enough to start bouncing around until like early 2000, 2001. You know, my daughter had just been born in 99, and when she was born, that shifted me. It was like, what, you're going to be her example. So my mother always told me you could do anything you put your mind to. All you have to do is put your mind to it and focus on that. And I believed her. And I felt like I couldn't say that to my daughter if I wasn't showing that I believed that. And that really put a fire under me and made me start bouncing around New York, doing the open mics and auditioning, et cetera, you know. But I also have a young daughter. When you're young, you're young, you think you just pop a baby out and I could just go do everything. That's not how it works. At least that's not how it worked for me.
Hmm.
So now I have this fire under me, and at the same time, trying to figure out how to balance this young mom slash aspiring entertainer slash you also have a regular job person, and just trying to figure all of those things out. The core of me knew that it would be unacceptable to throw in the towel. And here I am 25 plus years later, and I haven't thrown in a towel. Although I have wanted to many, many times.
You've at least wrung
I'm
it.
throwing in a towel right now. Here, take it.
Yeah. It's a terrible towel.
I have my mom's terrible towel over there. God bless her soul. She passed a couple of years ago, which was another major shift, which prompted this book that I wrote. But
Mm.
my sister came to visit uh, on my 50th, and which was the same year my mom passed, which was you want to talk about a mind f wow. um to lose your mom and turn 50 in the same year, I thought I was ready. I've been through a lot, from early childhood abuse, love, law. I am not unfamiliar to early death or early birth. You know, first baby shower I ever went to was when I was 11 and my cousin was 13. Let that tell the story for you, right? So I'm not unfamiliar with trauma, and I thought I was ready. There is nothing that can prepare you for losing your mom. Especially, I said, what kind of jokes God got? Come on now. Everybody want to be a comedian. I said,
For
listen, God,
real.
listen, God. This same year I'm turning 50, and me and my mother shared a birthday. I said, listen, you're putting a lot of weight on me. But what I have learned in my many, many, many years is that the more weight you learn to carry, the stronger you get. And grief and death is heavy, heavy. It's almost unexplainable. It's a weight that we all have to carry at some point with different loved ones. And it's not a weight that I would gift anyone to carry.
Yeah.
And there was a lot in between,
Yeah. Well,
between the then and now.
with every single bit of that, the grief, the love, the all the things, part of these hold pieces of life for us. They're all life-giving in certain ways because we get to do something with it. At the same time, you're right, there are certain things that you can't comprehend, like explaining to somebody um, the color orange. Like you really can't do that. Like you have to understand it, you have to experience it, and then you have to understand what it's like to be able to carry that and then to do the work with and
Yeah.
through all of it. I'm sorry that you lost your mom, especially on your birthdays.
Well, she died on January 11th, 2024. And then our birthdays was June 23rd, 24th. So like 6 months later. But
Okay,
I had
that's still a lot.
Yeah, I had already started writing this book that I was in an argument with God about in the first place because I was on the cusp of my turning 50 and God was like, you're going to write a book. And he gave me the title, several different versions of that title, but it all involved me speaking about being 50.
Hmm.
And I said, excuse you, Lord, in a business where it's probably a good thing that I look probably 10 years younger than my real age. I've always scaled and never believe what people say to you. Believe what casting says to you. Your age is what casting thinks you are, what you look like, not what you are. So I can't get roles at my real age. I never could. When I was in my 30s, I
Hmm.
looked like I was in my early 20s. Practically could play a high school kid. When I was in
Hmm.
my 40s, my casting age was in my 30s. My casting age just reached early 40s this past year. It's interesting to me that God had this idea I was going to now have this whole book. Now, mind you, as a stand-up comedian, I always my comedy is very authentic. It comes from my life. I don't make up stories. I don't lie on stage. So I never revealed my age, but I had jokes about aging. I get to this place where it's like, okay, you're going to write this book, and I had an argument with God. I was like, I'm no, I'm not. I, you write it, and he said, hold my purse, and that's exactly what happened because I basically had the concept of it, and it was driven. I didn't realize that I was so quotable.
Hmm.
And I was working on something else, and someone asked me like, could I send them like a list of all my quotes that I have put on Twitter or said to my fan base or said to my family and friends? And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. And when I wrote it, I got a lot. Like I was like, oh, so a book of 50 quotes. And I was like, something simple. And then it just kept expanding. And then when my mom passed, just to cut fast forward, and I was in the editing phase of this book. I said, God is a genius because he gave me a book that I needed to read. I thought I was writing something to inspire others to grow older with confidence and resilience. And don't lie about your age. Don't be ashamed. Aging is something not to fear, but something to flex and live confidently in your authentic self. And this is the stance I've always taken. So this was like a step forward in that. Even though it's who I am, it's still one of the quotes in the book that I say a lot in life. One of the easiest things in this world, the easiest job in this world is being yourself. It's also the hardest job because no one's like you. The easiest job because no one's like you, hardest job because no one's like you. So if I want to put myself out there as the leader in that thought, then I have to be it, not just say it. So I'm editing the book and I realized in the darkest spaces of my grief, losing my mom, the book, all the insights and the stories and the quotes and everything that I was sharing, I realized that this is something that I needed to read. God was reminding me of the strength that I've carried for 50 years, not just to share with other people of the how did you get through that, but I needed to be reminded of how I got through that. Because that's the thing about people talk about healing and, oh, I've been through this, been through that. But what people don't talk about is just because you've climbed a mountain doesn't mean that you don't slip back down and look up
Mhm.
like, how did I get up there? I got to figure out how to climb again. And the rocks shifted and it's different now. How do I get back up to there again? How do I climb out of this well? I fell into the well again. How do I get out of this dark space again? And there, last time there was a rope. Somebody threw me a rope. I had someone in my life, a companion that helped me. Now I'm alone. How do I get out of this dark space by myself? So that's what I talk about in the book, and even on stage in a humorous way. The book is a more direct, written, inspirational self improvement thing, as opposed to on stage. I'm talking about a lot of these things in a humorous way, that can make people laugh. But that's what it's all about. It's like, just because you get somewhere doesn't mean, usually when you get to a place, it's the beginning of the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh man, it's another mountain behind this
Mm-hmm.
mountain. And to get to the top of that mountain, I have to go down and back up. And so many times you go, you know what? I'm going to go on and quit this mountain. I'm going to just stay over here. I'm going to stay over here. And God goes and pushes you off the mountain. Pushes you off the mountain like, oh, you thought you were staying here? Nope. You still got breath in your body. So go on and figure it out. And that is sometimes grief because of a loss. Sometimes it's a birth of a new baby that could be that big push and shift. You lose someone in death. Uh, Someone in your family gets sick. You lose your job. I mean, there's a laundry list of things of life that be lifing that will shift you into a place where you're like, man, I was kind of chilling. Now I got to figure out how to climb through the beginning phases of something else. And it's not easy. And I don't sit on a high horse at all, like, oh, I'm in this place where I have all of the answers. Nope. I have some of the answers that I too have to sit here and go, what did I say again?
What the fuck does that mean?
What what am I doing? And it's life isn't life isn't hard, but it isn't easy. Like, it's all in our perspective, right? And I'm at that place where I have decided that by any means necessary, I'm going to find my peace and I'm going to find my joy in the storm. I feel like Captain Dan. Like, oh, this all you got? Bring it on. Bring it on. I'm smiling through everything. I have to, because I feel like I'm in the beginning of the third quarter of my life. I refuse. The first two quarters, I didn't fall out. I'm not on the bench. I'm still in the game. I'm gonna get through all four quarters of life like LeBron. I'm not tapping out. So whatever, by any means necessary, I'm going to enjoy the game while I'm playing it. I'm going to continue to dribble. If I can't slam dunk anymore, I'm gonna get another jump shot. I'm just that's the mindset, and it's not easy. It's not easy. You do have to protect your peace, have boundaries, all of those things. And I don't say any of it like it's easy, because it's not. It's something you have to focus on every single day and stay committed to every single day. And sometimes you don't win that day. You just don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at that point where I wake up and I look and I see the sunshine. I'm like, oh, we doing this again. Got another chance. We're here again.
Yeah. I think context is so important with just the things that we've learned through life, but also how we look at things. Because, yeah, there are days where you look and you're watching the sun and you're like, oh, this is incredible, but fuck, my back hurts. Or this other thing is nagging on me that you're still grieving about or whatever. I found that there are times where literally we see that next mountain and we can be like, are you fucking kidding me? All right. But you have learned things that can help you actually get up that mountain a little differently than you did before. But it's about being able to learn the things, process through the shit that happened before to then go, all right, well, what do I do differently and how do I move about this? I've seen what my mountains look like. I do deep subconscious processing at different times. But basically, like at least once a quarter, they're typically 3-4 hour sessions and we go deep, and there's a campfire that people come around to, and these are the people that have to show up and help me and blah blah blah. There was a time like maybe 6-7 months ago where I did one and literally looked up and saw what that mountain looked like, And literally where I'm at today is part of that mountain. But what a fucking cool thing to be able to look back and go, I remember seeing that mountain and being
Right.
like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like, this one's bigger than the last one. Like, come on.
Exactly.
Is this a joke? You know?
Exactly. Like,
But the
who's
shit that
supposed to
you
go up
learn,
there?
yeah, like, fuck, you do it. You show me how to do it first.
But you know how amazing God is. You look in your backpack and you go, I know I got some tools in here to help me get up this mountain. And you look and you go, well, where did that come from? I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have that tool before. And it's like, well, you got it now. And this is exactly what you're going to need. So sometimes God is still in the business of miracles as far as my point of view is concerned. You don't see the miracle if you don't believe. That's what faith is, right?
Yep.
It's like your example. If we go back to the tree, if I'm in a bad mood, that tree just looks like a shadow in my path and fallen leaves and like who made this mess. But if I'm in a good mood, I'm like, oh wow, this is a beautiful tree. Let me hug it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's warm. It's better than a man hug. I hug trees because they're more stable than men. That's what I do.
They bark a little bit more, but you know, it's a different story.
But if it's a cute man, I'm like, move, tree. Gotta get to this unstable man that's chopping you down.
Clearly no roots at all. Doesn't understand how to do life. Give it to me.
Exactly. And doing life is knowing that you try your best to show up as your best self in every situation, but sometimes you're just not going to show up as your best self. And that's
Yeah.
okay. You have to give yourself the same grace and forgiveness and kindness that you would give to someone you love. So especially like at the point of view with people who are very kind and generous to kids, like oh they're just a kid, give them a chance, da da da. You have to give yourself that. You have to give yourself that. Like
Yeah.
how would I? Because the way we talk to ourselves in our own mind is horrific. You will not be your own friend if any of your friends talk to you how you talk to you, and I'm not pointing at you specifically, Nick. I'm saying you, all of us, because you point a finger, you're pointing back at yourself, right? So all of us, the way we talk to ourselves is not the way that we talk to anybody else. So I look at it like, well, if I could talk to myself like trash, I most certainly could figure out how to talk to myself with some kind of love and kindness.
That's the key, though. That's the self awareness to it to then take an action from there. Like, even back
Mm-hmm.
to the faith. Faith is, I'm, I'm a very faith driven person. I am not a religious person. I'm a faith driven person. But action has to be a part of that. It's like the old story of, well, somebody was on a flood and there was a house and the boat came by, a helicopter and all that, and they
Mm-hmm.
died and got up there and was like, what happened? It's like, are you kidding me? I sent you three different things. Like, you have to
Yeah.
take some sort of action with things. And I think that's really how, at least the people who are similar to me in a sense, have to literally fuck around and find out. That's how we iterate. That's how we figure out what are the things. I think one of the major things that we haven't really touched too much on is that you had this common thread. Not only did you have your mom saying, like, you do you, and I got you, and I'll be your failsafe and your net just in case. But you also had you inside of you going, I got to go do this. There's something deep in me. And I think it's important for us to understand that there are certain times there are systems that are holding us back from things. And then there are also things that have just been ingrained in us. Like, well, I also need to go to college and I need to go get a job and I need to do this, etc. You ended up having a kid and going, I still need to do this. However, I need to do it a little differently. And if we look at the timeline in a sense, yeah, maybe did a handful of gigs over a 10-year period, then you got back into it. All of that shit that you learned through that entire time probably stacks into not only how you present yourself in any of the work that you do, but how your conversations are shaped and the things that you've done. And I think because you do that, you then start to compound on the other things that you've learned, which makes those mountains different because they're different terrain often, but they're still like, well, fuck, I figured these other things out and I've got a little bit more. But even aging, like,
Yeah.
I've joked with people at times, like, you get over 30 and you wake up and you're like, fuck, why do I hurt? Oh, I slept for 8 hours. You get over 40 and you're like, what did I do to my knee? I don't know. I just lived.
Mhm.
And as you get older and older, and I think there are certain times where people I'm seeing where they look like they're really, really, really aged because of the choices that they've made. And I'm not here to throw shade or
That
shame on
part.
anybody at all, but it is our choices and it's how we shape ourselves based on the things that we see and we can do. I always look for the practicality of it. And in some ways, similar to like, what's the dumb, simple thing that I can kind of tie into where I can go, oh, note to self, Nick, do this next time. So when I think about certain things that were triggers or whatever, I am mindful to see like I'm fucking amped right now. Oh, cool. All right. I've learned that I can calm myself down by just being aware of it.
Right.
It's not as quick as I want it to be often. It depends on the situation or whatever. But that grace with that awareness is, I think, very critical. So when you think of people that are literally on their path towards self mastery, what sort of advice would you give to them?
Well, just to touch on a lot of the things that you said, I would start with, look, faith without works is dead, right?
Yeah.
It's a tough pill to swallow and to accept, especially for some religious people and people who believe in God in whatever way that they do, where it's like, listen, God is not a genie. You're not rubbing a bottle here and making
Yes.
wishes. It, faith without work is dead. You don't look out at your garden in the back and go, why don't I have vegetables? Well, maybe
Come
because you
on.
didn't plant any seeds. Well, I prayed. I prayed for tomatoes. Yeah, but the tomato seeds are still on your counter. Well, I don't feel like doing all of that. My neighbor has plenty of trees with apples and vegetables and tomato. But you saw your neighbor plowing and digging and watering. So it's a lot of times when people feel that inner calling for whatever it is that they're supposed to do or should do or want to do, they look at the work that it takes. They look at that long road and go, no, I'm just going to complain about the people that already made it and say that it was magic and they just got lucky or someone handed them something or it's because of their race or their gender or
Mm-hmm.
faith without work is dead. When you make a decision about what it is that you want to do, whatever that is, you also are accepting the responsibility of everything that it takes to do those things. And sometimes we don't even know what those things are. I still don't know what the blueprint is for what I do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you never know. Sometimes you hear in your mind and you go, that's not even possible. And then it goes, well, there's an example. Okay, so you mean to tell me it's not possible for you in your mind? So
Mm-hmm.
that's a choice you're making in your mind that you've decided you didn't want to take on the responsibility of some things. That's all. So I would start there and just believing in what you're doing. And again, I say none of this on a high horse or a pedestal of this is easy, just go do this thing. No, you're going to get beat up along the way. You're going to get the bumps and the bruises. There's no, or I can't say no, but there's very little opportunity in this world where you just end up at the top of whatever it is that you want to do without doing the work. And if I could quote Bishop T.D. Jakes, who has a mega church in Dallas, the Potter's House in Dallas, and he said, paraphrasing, if I wanted to kill someone, I just give them my church because they could never hold the weight of what I didn't start. I didn't even know it was going to be a mega church. I started preaching when it was like 7 people in a living room. And then you cut to 40 years later and here it is. Now everybody wants the microwave shortcut to all of this massive success, insert whatever area. You want to jump to the responsibility, to the place of the highest seat because it looks so fancy, but you don't know how to carry the weight. If you want to own a restaurant, you probably should know how to mop the floors too.
Mm-hmm.
What if someone doesn't, all the workers doesn't show up? Do you just lock the doors, or do you go, okay, I'm a one man band today. Give me a shot. I know how to flip the burgers. I know how to unlock the cabinets and the doors and do all the restaurant things. I think that people, we all want comfort and love and financial freedom and all of the things, but very few people go, and I'll take the responsibility that comes with building that. So many stories of lottery winners. We've heard them all. You know, they lose their massive wealth quickly. Why? They have no idea how to manage that amount of weight.
The shortcut thing is, I think, really prominent. We see it a lot with AI specifically. These are all shortcuts, but this also removes us from learning things and understanding how to put things together, even how to do the research or the painting or whatever it is that AI is going to help you with. But there's also a lot that I've learned, and I think we're similar in this, where you can look back and go, well, shit, if I didn't learn those other things, I absolutely would not be able to handle this the way that I can handle it now, because those
Right.
other things needed to happen. It's like you needed to be able to learn those things, no matter what it looks like. And everybody's context is different. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate that you've gone back to that a few times of like, this isn't easy and it all looks how it's going to look. Like life's going to turn out however
Yeah.
life just fucking turns out. It's what we do with it and how we actually work through those things. So,
And let me give you another one if you don't mind me hopping in there because I
sure.
might forget with my Gen X brain. I'm Gen X. So I may sound like an old out of touch lady when I say this. I'm recording my audio book for this, and I was so ready to let AI do it. And then I listened to my fan base say, no, we want your authentic voice and AI, yada, 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 yada. It is taking me way longer than what I thought. And I'm doing it the old school way. I'm recording it beginning to end. One of the most tedious processes I've ever been through in my life. I have done everything in this business. I've done radio. I've had my own radio show. I've done podcasting. I've done tons of voice. I'm not unfamiliar with vocal work.
Yeah. It's different vocal work
The
though.
audio book is challenging to say the least. And there's the younger generations of people and people in the AI like, why is she putting herself through that? And I'm like, you're right. Why am I putting myself through that? Because there's an old school brain in there going, well, authenticity, well, integrity. And then there's the other side of me that's not, too far removed from current life. Because when you get older, sometimes you get very out of touch. You get
Mm-hmm.
very out of touch with music. You get very out of touch with trends. You get very out of touch with technology. And you're like, oh my God, I need my daughter to teach me how to use my phone. All of these things. But there's that part of me that reminds myself that I don't want to be that person that's so out of touch that she won't give other things a shot. I'm going to finish the audiobook with my authentic voice. But shall I ever do this again? Miss AI, come on over. Clone my voice because it's like there are some benefits. There are some benefits to the world changing. And just like with anything, those changes bring about a lot of positive things and some negative things. And
Mm-hmm.
we will adjust as a society. At some point, I hope I'm still here to see it.
Maybe. I mean, if the data centers keep doing their job, then the planet may not be here to see it. And I understand looking for things to be easier. Shit, I fight with it often at times, but I think there's also a lot to be able to go on. There are times where I have to sketch something out to then be able to create a bigger piece. And I mean sketch from my perspective as a musician, like playing something on an acoustic and then building it from there instead of saying, all right, AI, be able to do this thing for me. I want it in these chords. I didn't have to spend that time to be able to do it. I would hope, and my wish is that we as people step outside of the hustle culture and outside of capitalism as much to then be able to say, I want to spend 3 hours today and learn how to do this. or work on this specific thing or do this until my voice starts to give out. And then I have to come back and do it 2 days later and to be able
Yeah.
to work on the stuff that's deep inside of us, the creative side.
Well, I hope they do figure out the environmental issue of it. That's a big concern. It's all like gas, or we can name a million things that
Yeah.
destroys our environment. This is
But it's
adding to
one.
yeah, this is
It's
adding to the
people.
list. Yeah, it's us. We're adding to, we all contribute as human beings in some kind of way to the destruction of our planet.
Yeah.
So one, AI and the data centers and all of that is one more thing that um, will hopefully be figured out for the sake of humanity and our planet and all of that. And so that we can continue to enjoy the positive aspects of the technology. But to your point, I think it helps a lot with productivity for someone like you with experience. Like if you have experience as a musician already, you already know, okay, let me do this. Boom, AI, these are the chords that I want. It's not as if you're coming from a place where you're a new student, you just picked up the guitar yesterday, and now you're skipping all the A, B, C, D, F, G lessons and going right to this sort of inauthentic song process that lacks part of your soul. So while I think it's a great tool, like, hey, write this email. This is what I'm trying to say. You're probably going to say it better than me without an attitude. Thank you, AI. But when we start there, thinking about the younger generations, the Gen Zs and Gen Alpha, even the younger ones, where will they even know that there's a world where you learn from the inside of your soul out, as opposed to everything is now on the outside going in? I think that in the near and far future, the value in real musicians, real stand up comedians, real theater, real actors, live events are going to be very valuable and very sought after. So I think it's a good thing that the younger generations are even starting to go back. Like there's some malls that have closed down, and then there's some malls where it's like, wait, don't let this close down. Where there's people here, there's book clubs where people
Hmm.
shut off their phones and go into this space
Community.
with a book and just talk it right. So it's our nature as humans to find human connection.
Hmm.
So they could insert as many robots as they want. People are still going to, at their core, desire human contact, community, and they will find it. And that's where people like you and me come in, because they're going to be like, oh, a real live person doing music, doing comedy,
Yeah.
acting. They're right there. I could touch her flesh. Well, please don't,
Hmm.
but you know what I mean. Don't come touching us. Then I'm like, no, I'm a robot. I'll bite you. But and music is so vulnerable. I have um I have some published music. I have written music. I produced music for comedy specials. I have worked on original music for a one woman show that I've done. And I did musical improv for like five, 6 years. And then my stand up took precedence. I was not doing our group any justice because I was, taking stand up gigs was expanding. And I kind of looked at musical improv as like a fun hobby, not a career move, but I loved it. And everyone in our group everyone could sing, everyone knew their harmonies, everyone was funny, everyone was witty. We would get a suggestion from the audience, and they wouldn't believe us that we made it up beginning, middle, and end, and had a
Nice.
full musical. I miss
That's
it
cool.
so much, but I brought that all up to say, um, in admiration for what you do as a musician. And I know just as writing music and singing is so vulnerable. One of my friends who is a musician and singer as well, they're in awe with comedy. Like, how do you get up there and do that? Like you're making people laugh. And I'm like, it comes from a place that I guess I'm anointed or settled in, um, where my soul doesn't feel, um, I guess I'll use the word vulnerable again. Like singing and music comes from another place where it's that's where I feel the idea of, oh, I'm just standing here naked. My whole soul is exposed in a different kind of way,
Hmm.
and I know I don't didn't know if you wanted to bring that back up and talk about your aspirations and thoughts in comedy, but it's whether you're doing comedy or music or acting, that vulnerability, that authenticity, that here's my soul, here's my voice, here's my point of view, here's all of me right here for you, is going to continue to draw people in. And
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe that. I don't see a world where humans go, we're just gonna deactivate our souls and interact with robots. I know that's what they want us to believe, but it will go against everything that we are as human beings.
I'm right there with you. I mean, you're preaching in certain ways. I help people figure out and best resonate with their audiences. That's part of what I
Oh,
do
nice.
with podcasters. Because I think truly as a podcast, and I haven't taught this or said this on the podcast because this isn't really a platform, but context. As a podcaster or as a speaker or as a musician, if you can resonate with your audience and you can set yourself to be up to be found, searchable, ranking on Google search and different things that are important like that, you will inevitably reach the right people, but it's all got to be wrapped in a strategy and what is authentic to you. Whether you're writing an album or you're working on a book or whatever it is, if you're doing it and you're doing it from an authentic perspective, I truly believe that things will start to come up, opportunities will come up, but then also things will show to yourself to go, oh, this is what I should do, this is where I should go. By going through those steps, taking one step at a time, being able to do something with it. But if you're trying to be somebody else, you're trying to have a different conversation. Like shit, in the beginning of this, before we hit record, you were like, are we recording? Because this just feels like, is this about what you expected? Now that we're 50 minutes into the episode,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just one big
great.
old
It's a great
conversation.
conversation. Yeah. And my comedy is very conversational. And it's at the end of the day, like you said, the hardest part is finding your army, finding your Team Vaughn soldiers, finding the people that resonate with you. And circling back to what I said earlier, the easiest job on earth is to be yourself because there's no one like you. It's also the hardest because there's no one like you. And
Yeah.
when you see my comedy, there's it's a compliment, but I also know the difficulty in what I do. No one can, the industry can't look at me and box me in and go, she's like such and such. If you like such and such, you'll like
Hmm.
such and such. When you see me, you don't see anyone else's comedy style or voice or point of view because I am sitting in that pocket of myself, my true authentic self. Now, why would you think that's hard? Well, because the world we're in entertainment needs to box you in until you're insert celebrity, then they don't have an example. You become the example, and then there's a million people. And I get this now. There's some comics that go, "Oh, I seen this young comic. She reminds me of you,"
Hmm.
and I get that. But no one goes, you know who Vaughn reminds me of? Da 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 da. She reminds you of
Yeah.
herself. And that is the other huge compliment I get is because I work clean. I work clean but edgy. And they're like, oh, you don't even swear on stage. You don't rely on vulgarities. You're not up there talking about sex and all the typical things that, will draw people away from comedy. Like sometimes
Hmm.
it could be a bit much. And I don't have a judgment for it. But I decided at a certain point where I want it to be with my voice. And I
Hmm.
had someone go, "Oh, I didn't even realize that you don't even swear on stage. Like you don't talk about like all of these vulgar things that we would expect a black woman to be talking about. And I'm like, oh, is that right? It's like it's undetectable. And I said, you know why? Because I'm being authentic. You're not, it's those things would stand out horrifically coming from me, especially at this point. I'm not saying that I never did. I mean, it took me years to rewrite some of my material and remove um, curse words that I was using at a point. And I did that for me because anytime I would listen back, I'm like, I don't like how I sound. I'm
Hmm.
more intelligent than this. I could figure this piece out better. And I would always tell younger comics, no unsolicited advice, but if they're asking me, I'm like, well, if a curse word or something vulgar, the B word, the N word, the R word, insert whatever word, if that's your punchline, you probably don't have a punchline. You're probably leaning on personality and swag and coolness and shock. But what is your intent behind what you're saying? And when I took a look at myself and started working those things out, I I expanded on myself, on my brand, and I just feel better about how I'm delivering things to people. Now, I'm still a work in progress. I have plenty of F bombs off stage that I'm like, let me work on that. But that's for me. That's for me. And when you do, it's not for anybody else. It's not a judgment on anybody else. It's where I'm at as a woman, as a comic, as a person, as a human. So once you know who you are, then you can walk confidently in those shoes. And it's not easy because again, if I was doing certain material in a certain way, I would have a lot more booking. And I know that, but that's okay. I'm building on my army of people, my massive following of people that's going to come to my shows. They're going to laugh, they're going to be inspired, they're going to feel seen. The response I get from people after shows, especially women my age and younger, I mean, there's 25-year-old women reading this book going, because the title is fine over 50, but there's a little tag at the top that people are missing that says you will be fine over 50. It's the 50 is about me. But this book was written so that you learn more about yourself than me in the process of reading it. And if this so happens to find you long before you turn 50, you're ahead of the game because you're going to get the insights and all of the things like, okay, so what are some of these things that got you through? how do you how do you get nervous on stage? How do you people think I have so much confidence? I'm like, I'm so insecure. I worked so hard because I know my vulnerabilities, and I don't get nervous on stage. Why? Because I'm prepared for the moment. I identified within myself a long time ago. I said there's a difference between nervousness and anxiousness. Like a nervousness that is attached to feeling unprepared for the moment, whether I didn't do my job as a writing or whatever. uh I'm in a moment that I feel I don't deserve, imposter syndrome. I got a gig that's too big for me, whatever. You feel nervous because you feel unprepared. Once I identified that feeling, and I still felt that little butterfly feeling before going on stage that you always feel, I'm like, there's a difference between a nervousness and lack of preparation and not being prepared for a moment versus, oh, this is anxiousness. This is me being excited. This is me ready to go. This is me like, let's do this. And again, I'm speaking for me and no one else. I identify something that feels almost exactly the same, but I realized the different places within me it was coming from. And from there, from that awareness, like we are talking about everything that we're talking about, the awareness brings about a responsibility. Okay, so now I'm aware of this. What do I do now? So those are things that those are the things I talk about in the book, and it's like, well, these are the things that I do. And if it works for people, it works. If it doesn't, it maybe something in it will spark you to go, I'm going to try my version of this. That's great too.
I think it's all super important, especially with that, to be able to say, if you take something from it, you go, well, I want to alter this a little bit for my life, then beautiful. It's almost like hearing God in certain ways, through the Bible or through some other book or through TV or whatever. It's being able to be aware of that stuff, to then go, oh, cool. Well, what that means to me is probably different than somebody else, and how I want to go about it. And I think that's awesome. This has been a fantastic conversation. I appreciate you being on today.
Thank you. You were very enjoyable.
Appreciate being called enjoyable.
Well, you are.
I often curse. Part of my authentic way of being is, this is how I am. I speak like this when we're not recording and when we are recording, and this is just how I am. And I appreciated what you were saying about that, to be able to have the awareness to go, how do I look at this? There's certain people that I've gotten comments and messages that are like, I don't like that you curse as much or whatever. And other people, I'm sure they're like, fuck yeah, dude, I feel that. And whatever, as long as it speaks to whoever it speaks to.
Right. You sit in the pocket of who you are, period. And if you
Yeah,
come to a place where you want to change it, then change
I
it.
will.
Because I
Yeah.
didn't change until I was ready to do it for me. Nobody said, as a matter of fact, people say the opposite to me. If you do this, if you dress sexy, talk about your boobs, yeah, all of the, please, people have all the advice for everything because they're not doing it or they're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
anything that's not your authentic self is doing it wrong for you. So
Yeah.
I know my tone sometimes come across as judgy, but I'm 100% of the time always speaking for me. And if like you said, you get something out of it, or my best friend always says, take the meat, leave the bone. I'm not placing a judgment on who and what you are, because that's just me judging myself.
Yeah.
I don't get to a place of, oh, this is where I'm at. Now I get to look down the hill with everybody climbing up behind me, like, oh, I'm better than you. How you gonna get up here? I don't do that. I don't do that. I'm more or less going, hey, I got up by going this way, but if you go that way, you might find something. I can't tell you how to get over there.
Yeah. Everybody's context is different.
And if I'm not for you, I'm not for you. I'm sure you said to the people with the critique, hey, if this doesn't resonate with you, there are a million other podcasts you could tune into.
Yeah.
Don't try
I
to
mean,
change me. Change your
honestly,
dial.
I don't reply to them because there's no need to. Like, the people that ask and are interested in things, I love to reply to them. There's no need for either energy to be shared at that point. Like, okay, thanks for being anonymous online
Period.
and just posting a thing. Like, cool. I'm just going to move along and help the other people. And likewise with your book. So I appreciate you being on, talking about the book, talking about everything we've gotten into. And I'm really glad that we were able to move in the ways that we did. So before I let you
Thank you.
go, where can people find you and where can they connect with you?
The easiest place to find all of my socials, my book, everything that is Vaughn Decarlo is at Funny Vaughn, and Vaughn is not spelled fancy. It's just VON, three letters. funnyvaughn.com. It will give you links to all my social media, my book, and my upcoming shows. I hope to see people on the road. I will have books, and I do a meet and greet after all of my shows. So feel free to wait to buy the book in person, or you could get it online, and the audiobook will have a separate release date, obviously. But thank you for having me, Nick. I really did enjoy talking to you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for listening to today's episode. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed the episode, please jump over to Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you consume podcasts, and subscribe, rate, and leave a 5-star review. It's very much appreciated and also helps other people find the show and experience healing just like us. Please also head over to our website, themindsetandselfmasteryshow.com. where you can check out all of our episodes and find additional resources to help you manage your mindset as you seek self-mastery. So with that, thank you, and remember, your mindset matters, and so do you.